All right, geometry. We got our Chapter 3 test coming up. So this is the study guide for Chapter 3. There's some notation on here that kind of printed weird, but overall it should work just fine. So name all the segments in plane H and I that appear to be skew. So remember, skew means they are not parallel, so they're not going the same direction, and they are not going to intersect. So the plane H and I appears to be the kind of the right side of our box here. So from that plane, what is skew to GJ? So GJ is right here. We need something going a different direction, and that is also on that right side. So in this case, the right side contains these two lines right here that are going up and down, so a different direction, and will never intersect. So that's HN, and that's IM. Okay. And so the second one, number 2, says identify all lines that appear parallel to JL. So remember, JL, going up and down, parallel means same direction. So the ones that are going the same direction would be going up and down, GK, HN, and IM. So GK, HN, IM. Okay. So number 3, a line that intersects JL. You can really pick just about anything. So find JL and just pick something that intersects it. Well, the one I'm going to pick is this one right here, KL. KL. And then finally, a plane that is parallel to GKJ. So GKJ, once again, is this left side. So GKJ is kind of this side over here. And so parallel to the left would be the right side because, again, they go in the same direction. And so that right side, I can just think of any name using 3 letters. So HNI are 3 letters from that plane. And that's what I'm going to call it. Okay? So that is parallel planes, parallel lines, and skew lines. So our next section talks about all those relationships, angle pair relationships that we've been talking about. Okay, so that's all those ones we've had on the board. On the first, it says on the first line, identify the angle relationship: vertical, alternate, interior, exterior, corresponding, consecutive, interior, linear pair, all that stuff. Or maybe it's no relationship. Okay. On the second line, using each given value, solve for the missing angle. So it says AB is parallel to CD. So using that information, let's find all these angles. And that's supposed to say angle 8. I don't know why there's an S. Kind of a typo there. So the first one says, number 5, measure of angle 8 and measure of angle 1. So 8 and 1, if we look at our picture, it is exterior of the parallel lines, and they are on alternate sides. So alternate exterior. And so if we think about alternate exterior, that means they are supposed to be congruent. So measure of angle 8 is 100. So that means angle 1 is also 100 since they're congruent. Okay, so next one, number 6, 8 and 4. So let's look at number 8 and 4. That would be 8 here, 4 here. These are the same position, so bottom right, bottom right. Okay, so if they're same position, that means corresponding angles. So if they're corresponding, that means they're also congruent. So angle 8 is 70, angle 4 is 70. Okay, so the next one, we've got angle 6 is 50. Or sorry, angle 6. So angle 6 and angle 4. Okay, so those are both interior, but they're the same side. So that means those are consecutive interior. And that means that's the only situation where they're supplementary. So consecutive interior supplementary, so that means if this is 50, then this is whatever's left out of 180, 130. Okay, and then finally the last one, 6 and 3. So if you look at angle 6 and angle 3, those are both interior again, but they're alternate sides this time. So alternate interior angles. So if this is 100, alternate interior means they're congruent, so this is 100. Okay? So that's angle relationships when they're already parallel. Now for this section, we have given the following congruent and supplementary angles, tell which lines are parallel in the picture. If none are parallel, write none. So in this case, it says angle 1 is supplementary to angle 7. So I've got angle 1 here, supplementary to angle 7. So what that means is what two lines are parallel? Well, this is my transversal, and so what the lines are parallel are going to be is the ones that the transversal goes through, which is J and K. So J is parallel to K because these two are supplementary, and those two have a relationship of consecutive exterior. Okay? And so, same thing on number 10. So number 10 says 3 and 6. Well, we've got the same transversal, which means we have the same parallel lines. So J is parallel to K again, but this time it's alternate interior. Okay? Alternate interior. So, our next example here, 2 and 14. So let's look at 2 and 14. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. 2 and 14 are right here and right here. So those appear to be top right, top right. So what we would normally think is corresponding. But they do not share a transversal. If they do not share a transversal, they do not have a relationship. So that would be none in that case. And then the next one says 4 and 11. So let's look at 4 and 11 are supplementary. Well, the transversal is J, which means the parallel lines are G and H. So G parallel to H, and those are inside of the parallel lines, and they're on the same side. So that's consecutive interior. Okay, and then the last one, we have 8 and 9. So look at 8 here, 9 here. So it kind of looks like alternate interior, kind of looks like alternate exterior, but it's neither, because look, they do not share a transversal once again, so that would also be none. All right, so on to the next section. So in this one, we're kind of using the same principles, but this time we're looking for what the x value is based on the relationship. So with this being said, I've got these two angles. Well, they're interior angles, and they're on the same side, which makes them consecutive interior angles. Well, if they're consecutive interior, that means they're supplementary. So my equation would be supplementary adds up to 180. So x plus 38 plus 2x minus 8 equals 180. And so when I solve, combine like terms, that's 3x. 38 minus 8, that's 30, equals 180. And then I go ahead and get the x by itself, which is going to be 3x equals 150. Divide by 3, x equals 50. And there's my x value. Okay? So I look at the same thing over here. Look at the relationship. This time it's exterior, and they're alternate exterior. So alternate exterior, remember, means they're congruent. So I want to set these two equal to each other. So 5x minus 3 equals 3x plus 7. And so I want to get x on the same side of the equal sign. So I subtract 3x. I get 2x minus 3 equals 7. Add 3 to both sides to get x by itself. Now I've got 2x equals 10. And finally we divide by 2, x equals 5. So 5 is my x value. Okay. So our last situation here is a proof. Actually, sorry, this is slope, and then our last one is proof. So for slope, remember with parallel, perpendicular, and neither, parallel needs to be the same. Exact same slope. Perpendicular, you need to be doing two things. Switch the sign and flip the fraction. Okay, if it doesn't do both, it's not perpendicular. So in this case, this is 2 over 1 and 1 over 2. It does flip, but it does not change signs. So that would be neither. Okay, so same thing over here. Look at the slopes here. This is the y-intercept, so don't worry about that. The slopes are negative 3 over 1, positive 3 over 1, or 1 over 3. So in that case, it does flip, and it does switch signs. So that would be perpendicular. Okay. And so our last thing with slope, we want to find the slope. Okay, so number 18, find the slope of the line. Remember our slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here's my x1 and y1. Here's my x2 and y2. And we got to set up our formula. So 6 minus negative 12 and 3 minus 5 on the bottom. Minus a minus becomes plus, so that's 18. 3 minus 5 is negative 2, and so negative 9 is my slope. And so the next two questions ask, so find the slope of any line that's parallel. Well, if it's parallel, it's going to be the exact same, so negative 9. Find the slope that's of any line that's perpendicular. Well, that means it's changed signs and flipped, so positive 1 over 9. All right, and so our last thing here is a 2-column proof. So statements and reasons. So statements and reasons. The first two should be obvious. This is going to end up being 5 steps. Okay, so the first 2 steps are obvious. The given. So A parallel to B, C parallel to D. That's given. That's given. Now, if that's given, we need to find out what else we can say. So 1 congruent to 3, these two don't have a relationship, so I can't say those are congruent yet. Okay? Now, what I can say is, well, A and B are parallel. What 2 angles are connected with the parallel lines? Well, look here. 2 and 3 are alternate exterior. So my reason, alternate exterior, that's the relationship. And we know alternate exterior angles are congruent. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. And then same thing for the other given. I've got C is parallel to D. Well, what 2 angles are connected there? That would be 1 and 2. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 because they are corresponding angles. There's the same position, bottom left, bottom left. And so, look what we have here. Angle 2 is congruent to 3, and angle 2 is congruent to 1. So therefore, the other 2 are congruent to each other. Okay, so that means angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. And since they were both congruent to the same thing, that's called one of 2 things, either substitution or transitive. Okay. And so that's your study guide for Chapter 3. Again, go through that, study it, and if you haven't finished your 3.5 knowledge check, that's also going to help you with your test. So go and finish that and be ready for your test on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what cohort you are. Peace.